So a few weeks ago, Anthropic dropped Cowork, a desktop AI agent that lives in your files and actually does things for you. And right around the same time, an open source project called ClawdBot, now known as OpenClaw after a forced rebrand, hit 60,000 GitHub stars in like 3 days. It's one of the fastest growing open source projects in history, actually. But here's the interesting part. Both of these tools promise the same thing, AI that actually does things, not just chatting, but actually doing. But they represent two completely different philosophies around what personal AI should be and how it should operate. And understanding that difference in philosophies will tell you a lot about where this whole space is heading, and also which approach might actually be best for you. That's what we're going to cover in today's video. Let's get into it. Okay, so here is what we are going to cover in today's video. So first, we are going to break down what both of these tools actually are, architecturally, not just marketing speak. Then we are going to explore the core tension between them, the trade-off between safety and capability. After that, we will talk about who each one is designed for right now, because in my opinion, neither of these tools are ready for everyone. And finally, I will share my broader take on what this tells us about where personal AI is going and how to think about whether you should adopt either of these tools. Let's get into it. Now, if you don't know me, my name is Sunny. I'm a serial founder now on my fourth startup. I'm also a former senior engineer at Bloomberg and Shopify, and currently an adjunct professor at Columbia Business School where I teach tech. Listen, I've been building in tech for over 15 years, well before AI. And my goal for this video, and really all my videos, is to help you make sense of all the things happening within the tech and AI landscape right now, and to make all of these tools, these AI tools, more accessible for everyone. Let's get started with our first step. All right, so let's start with Cowork. Cowork is Anthropic's desktop AI agent. It launched January 12th, originally as a research preview for Max users, and then, of course, deployed out to all their paid users. Now, here is what's interesting about the origin story behind Claude Cowork. Anthropic built Claude Code, their terminal-based coding tool, and it became hugely popular with developers. But they started noticing something funny. People were using Claude Code for stuff that had nothing to do with coding. Vacation research, building slide decks, cleaning up email, organizing files. So Anthropic said, okay, let's take the same agentic architecture and make it accessible to people who don't want to touch the terminal. So that is Cowork. So how does Claude Cowork actually work? So you open the Claude desktop app on your computer, and then you point Cowork to a specific folder. And then you give it a high-level goal through the regular chat interface. That's it. No terminal needed, no API keys, just point and click. And what's cool is that Cowork can read files, it can create new files, it can organize existing ones, and it runs inside a sandboxed virtual machine using Apple's virtualization framework. So there's a layer of isolation between Claude and the rest of your system. So some of the known use cases that Anthropic typically refers to kind of showcase the full value of Claude Cowork is turning receipts into spreadsheets, or reorganizing messy download folders, or reorganizing research reports from scattered notes. And here's a fun fact that tells you a lot about where we are. Anthropic claims that a team of 4 engineers built Cowork in about 10 days. And they used Claude Code to build it. This is a classic case of AI building AI tools. But the important thing to understand about Cowork is the philosophy behind it. Cowork is designed to be safe by default. It runs in a sandbox. You explicitly grant folder access. There are guardrails baked in. Anthropic is essentially asking, how do we make agentic AI safe enough for everyone? And that's really the biggest takeaway here. That's their bet. Safety first, then capability. Okay, so before we get into OpenClaw, this is probably a good time to talk about something that I actually have been noticing a lot. It seems like the conversation it continues to be centered around which AI is smarter, which model is better. Claude versus GPT, GPT versus Gemini. But here's the thing, the models are converging. They're getting really, really good, really, really fast, all of them. The actual race right now, though, is distribution. OpenClaw's genius isn't the AI, it's that it meets you where you already are. WhatsApp, Telegram, iMessage. You don't download a new app, you just text it like you text a friend. Cowork is the same insight, but with a bit of a different execution. It lives in your desktop app. It's already there when you open Claude. The companies that win the personal AI race won't be the ones with the best models. They'll be the ones that disappear into your existing workflows. The ones you forget are even there. That's the moat right now. It's not intelligence, it's actually proximity. All right, let's talk about OpenClaw. So originally OpenClaw was called ClawdBot, that's C-L-A-W-D, bot, named as a play on Claude until, of course, Anthropic sent a trademark notice to force a rebrand. But what's interesting is that the project hit 60,000 GitHub stars in a matter of days. That's insane growth for an open source project. The creator, Peter Steinberger, came out of retirement because he wanted to build a personal AI assistant that actually worked. Not Siri, not Google Assistant, but something that could actually genuinely run tasks on your behalf. So what's so different about OpenClaw? So first, it's self-hosted. You actually have to run it on your own hardware. Your prompts, your data never leave your infrastructure except when hitting the model API. Second, it's multi-channel. You can actually interact with it through messaging apps you already use, like WhatsApp, Telegram, Discord, Slack, iMessage, Signal. You text it like you would text a coworker, and it responds by actually doing things on your own machine. And third, and this is a big one, it has full system access. It can read your file system, execute terminal commands, run scripts, control your browser, manage your calendar, and email. And unlike Cowork, which isolates itself in a sandbox, OpenClaw is powerful by default. There is an optional sandbox mode, but the core philosophy is different. If Cowork is asking, how do we make this safe enough for everyone? OpenClaw is asking, how do we make this powerful enough for everyone? The setup is definitely more technical. You need to deal with config files, API keys, install Node.js, run through an onboarding wizard in the terminal. It is definitely not plug and play, but the payoff is significant. Persistent memory across conversations. It actually remembers things from weeks ago, proactive messaging. It can actually reach out to you in the morning with briefings or reminders. Over 50 integrations out of the box, and an extensible skill system where you can actually add custom capabilities. Here's the catch. Security researchers have already found vulnerabilities. Hundreds of OpenClaw instances were exposed to the open web. Some had no authentication at all, API keys, conversation histories, the ability to actually execute commands, all potentially accessible. One researcher actually demonstrated a prompt injection where they basically sent a malicious email to an OpenClaw user, and the AI on the other side, believing it was a legitimate instruction, forwarded the user's last 5 emails to the attacker's address. Literally took just a few minutes. So the security concerns are real. If you're going to use OpenClaw, you need to understand what you are signing up for. Run it on dedicated hardware, configure it properly. Don't just YOLO it on your personal laptop with access to everything. Just a word of caution. So this brings up something I think is really important. For the last 2 years, the whole AI conversation has been around prompting. How do you get AI to do more? How do you unlock its capabilities? How do you get better outputs? But with agents, AI that actually does things, the critical skill almost flips. The skill isn't getting it to do more. It's actually knowing when it needs to stop. When to say, wait, let me check that before you send that. Or when to say, actually, don't delete that folder just yet. Because here's the difference. When ChatGPT hallucinates in a chat, it's annoying. But when an agent hallucinates, it actually executes. It sends the email. It moves the file. It books the flight. So we need a whole new intuition for this, a whole new reflex. And honestly, most people haven't developed it yet. The people who thrive with these tools won't be the ones who automate everything. They will be the ones who know exactly where to keep a human in the loop. Now that we've gone through both of these tools, let's try to understand the fundamental tension between them. So this table right here kind of illustrates the major points of difference between the two. But I also want to just make a point that neither is better. They're just optimized for different users, different risks, different risk tolerances, and different visions of what personal AI should be. If you're a power user who wants control over your data, who's comfortable managing security, who wants to run AI on your terms, OpenClaw gives you that. But you're taking on real responsibility, of course. If you want something that just works, where you trust Anthropic to handle the safety layer, where you're willing to pay a premium for convenience and guardrails, Cowork may be perfect for you. But just know that you'd be giving up some capability and flexibility in return for that security. So this isn't just like a one is obviously right situation. It's definitely a genuine trade-off. So think about it like this. Cowork is like hiring through an agency. They've done background checks. There are policies in place. If there's something wrong, there's someone to call. But you're kind of paying for that level of safety. OpenClaw is like hiring a brilliant freelancer directly off of GitHub. They might be incredibly capable, but you are still responsible for vetting them, for managing them, and of course, dealing with the consequences if they mess up. So both are valid, but just have different risk profiles. So here's something that's been bugging me about how we talk about AI agents. Everyone kind of frames it like a binary. Either the AI is autonomous or it's not. Either it's doing things for you or you're doing things for yourself. But that's actually not how it works. You want to think of autonomy like a spectrum. And the real design question that nobody has fully answered just yet is, which decisions does the AI make alone? Which does it draft for your approval? And which ones does it never touch? Like maybe for me, I want my AI to auto respond to scheduling emails, but I want it to actually draft responses to clients and wait for me to send. And maybe I don't want it to ever touch anything financial. Now, that's 3 different levels of autonomy I just described for 3 different tasks. And right now, neither Cowork nor OpenClaw really lets you dial that in precisely with nuance in a user-friendly way. And in my view, the tools that win long-term will be the ones that let you set that boundary very clearly, task by task, context by context. We're not there yet, but I think that's probably where we're heading. So what does this all tell us about the future of personal AI? I think we are going to see these two approaches coexist for a while. The corporate guardrailed approach and the open source power user approach. And honestly, I think that's probably a healthy tension. Anthropic is obviously betting that safety and ease of use will win the mainstream market. They're probably right for most people, but there will always be a cohort of users, developers, power users, people who care deeply about data ownership, who want something that they can fully control. OpenClaw and projects like it will definitely serve that market. The bigger picture here is that the era of chat-only AI assistant is ending. AI that actually operates in your environment, that is really where we're at. AI that can take actions, that can manage workflows. That is really what we're going to think about when we think of AI. This is the beginning of what many people call agentic AI, not AI that just talks to you, but AI that works for you. Both Cowork and OpenClaw are early experiments in that direction. They're imperfect, they're rough around the edges, but they are pointing to something real. And the professionals who understand this shift early, who start thinking about how to design systems rather than just execute tasks, they are going to have a significant advantage. All right, let's recap. So today we looked at two fundamentally different visions of personal AI. There's Cowork, Anthropic's safe by default desktop agent, and then there's OpenClaw, the open source power user alternative. Neither is better. They're different tools for different people with different risk tolerances. Now, here's what I want you to do. If you're curious about this space, pick one of these tools, just one, try it out, see what kind of workflows you can automate, see where it helps, see where it breaks down. And here's the thing, you don't have to go all in. You don't have to bet your whole business on it. Just experiment and build that intuition. Because here is the broader lesson. We are at an inflection point. The people who develop fluency with these tools now, who understand how to design systems, not just use them, are going to move faster than everyone else. And this advantage will be unevenly distributed. Some people will barely keep up while others will thrive. Because the tools are here, the question is whether you will shape them or be shaped by them. Now, if you stuck around till the end of this video, I appreciate you. I will see you on the next one.